All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down the Sunday night matchup between the LA Rams and also the Detroit Lions. Going to be giving you guys the top picks and plays as well as the lineup process for DraftKings. Let's go ahead and get into it. Now, both teams are going to be healthy for this matchup, so the game preview is really nothing too crazy here. But what is crazy is the game total. Okay, this is the projected highest scoring game on the slate at about 53 points. The Detroit Lions are going to be 4.5 point favorites in this game as well. Should be a fun matchup. Really, the biggest piece of information that we are kind of monitoring that we won't know really until after the game is going to be the usage between the LA Rams running backs, really Blake Corum and Kyren Williams. Given the price tag for Blake Corum on the slate, he does feel to be vastly too high priced. To me, that's going to be one of the easier fades on the slate. And I've been saying this all summer that in best ball drafts, especially on DraftKings, I was handcuffing Kyren Williams to Ronnie Rivers a bunch. And a lot of people are going to hate that take. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him play in this game. Whenever we have seen him play, he has looked like Kyren Williams. And everyone's saying, well, that's why they brought in Blake Corum, because he's the exact same running back. Well, they already had the exact same running back in Ronnie Rivers, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So I wouldn't be surprised to see either of them play. I would rather take the risk of playing Ronnie Rivers at this price tag than taking the risk of playing Blake Corum as price tag. And if that's wrong, that's fine with it. I think that's an edge that we could potentially gain on this slate. And again, I could be completely wrong with that, and I'll own that. I'm okay with that. Both running backs, you probably don't have to play. Heck, you might not even have to play Kyren Williams, who is in a very difficult matchup. This was really the only matchup last year that he struggled in against the Detroit Lions, and you could argue maybe that's why they lost. Now, the Lions probably got lucky in that game. The Rams, I would say, outplayed the Lions. They probably should have won, but maybe you argue Kyren Williams could have had a little bit better of a game there as well. So yeah, it's going to be difficult to fit those running backs into our builds. With that being said, I do think we want to be fitting both Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp into our builds. The question is, do we want to play them in the captain spot or either of them? And I would say we could. I would say let's start off with putting them in the flex. I feel like they are kind of the top two plays on this slate in general in terms of predictability. Now, I will say Cooper Kupp is probably a little bit higher price than I would like. We have to see who's going to be the receiver number one here. Will it be Puka Nacua? Will it be Cooper Kupp? Or will it honestly just be both of them, like the pricing is suggesting here? Let's continue on with some other plays. Matthew Stafford, I'm fine getting to if we can. I'm not saying he's someone that we need to go out of our way to roster. Demarcus Robinson, everyone really likes. I'm fine with him as a shoulder shrug play. You're closing out your build, you have around his salary left over, and you plug him into a showdown build. I'm kind of okay with that. I think we're going to have a slightly better play for Detroit. That's basically the exact same play that we can get to instead. Let's go ahead and scroll down. Are we getting any values? Maybe Colby Parkinson. He is going to be the tight end number one there. Well, Tyler Higbee is out on IR to begin the season. I was hoping he'd be a little bit cheaper, but again, he is someone I don't mind as a shoulder shrug play, someone you can play in a pinch. And I think it's worth calling out Jordan Whittington, kind of a fun player this preseason. It wouldn't be shocking to see him get some work at the same time. He's not worth it at this price tag. 2,000 is way too much for him. And that's going to be the case, I think, with everyone else lower down there for the Rams. And so let's go ahead and jump into the Lions. And so for me, guys, St. Brown is probably slightly too high priced. At the same time, I do think we need to try to get to him. And that's where the slate becomes very difficult. We are basically setting ourselves up to hopefully guess to be correct on who is going to be the receiver number 3 for the Detroit Lions and hope that receiver number 3 has a big game. Now, the assumption is going to be that it's going to be Khalif Raymond as the receiver number 3. And the question becomes, well, how many snaps will he play? Will it be 50%? Will Jameson Williams actually play a bunch of snaps? Is he actually the receiver number 2? Is Tim Patrick going to play at all? I haven't seen anything on that. And if he is, like, how acclimated to the offense is he? You know, does he have a chance to step up and play an instant role like Josh Reynolds was? That's all questions I don't think we exactly have the answers to, but given the constraints of the slate, I kind of am toying around with the idea of going with Khalif Raymond in the sense that we could then just get all the other top plays on this slate, essentially. Assuming we can get the top 3 plays right, Kupp, Nacua, and St. Brown, And assuming Raymond does enough for us, I don't mind this. It's a little bit risky, don't get me wrong. I wish he was a little bit cheaper, but this does allow us to fit in all the other plays that we'd want to get to. Now, the question is, do you want to get to Jared Goff? I feel like he's a solid play, but just how much upside do Stafford and Goff have? You know, we're really looking for multiple touchdowns and like 300 plus passing yards. We need a bonus in there. I'm fine playing one of them. I don't know if we need to play both of them. That's kind of an issue I have on the slate. Sam Laporta, I'm fine with. I don't know if he's someone I'm necessarily going out of my way to roster. Again, happy to end up on him if we end up in that pricing range. From there, I think the salary on David Montgomery is strange. I feel like he is someone that we can plug and play. He is a salary relief option in comparison to some of the players that are higher priced than him. He should be safe for his role. Yes, we're expecting Jahmyr Gibbs to have a good role as well, but I kind of think we'll see Gibbs and David Montgomery on the field together. It's not like Montgomery's a bad back. Like, he is good. And he had an awesome season last year. I still think we should be looking at him. And so now we have 8.8 left over. Like, we could fit Matthew Stafford if we want. We could go with Gibbs if we want. We're fading Goff in this scenario, but again, it's a higher scoring game. We just want as much exposure as possible to the players that are going to be on the field a lot. And I think that's what we're doing here. So ideally, I would like to get Goff if I'm playing Raymond in the captain spot, right? Like, that makes sense. But at the same time, I'm fine going with Matthew Stafford in this build. Like, not a terrible build, not a great build. Everyone's going to have the same problems. I'm perfectly happy with this. Let's go ahead and see what the 9-to-5 lineup builder is telling us is the best build. See if it's anything close to this. So again, all we need to do to get this to run is give it 2 data points to go off of. So I'm just rounding up with these 2. Then we're going to click generate. I just want to see what the data is telling us is the optimal build. See if we're on the right path. And I swear if it says Blake Corum, I'm not playing it. No, I might. Let's see here. And so here we go. It does like Jared Goff in the captain spot. That is something I probably would not do too much. Like, I'm going to limit him myself. Probably to 10%, probably 10% of Stafford in the captain spot. Again, I think it's much more likely that Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, St. Brown have big games. I would rather get Laporta on a big game. I think that's more likely. But then it does go St. Brown, gets in one of the kickers, actually gets in both of the kickers there. And that makes sense. Like, the pricing on those 2 is very cheap. Like, instead of going Khalif Raymond, I honestly don't hate the idea of going with one of the kickers in the captain spot and trying to get lucky there. I don't know. I like Raymond a little bit more, I think, than everyone else is going to. So, like, you don't have to go crazy with that. Again, we're trying to get lucky. But yeah, it kind of is telling us to play 2 kickers. A lot of Sam Laporta in there. This is one with Matthew Stafford at the captain spot. So interesting there. I'm actually curious. I want to know what the roster construction is without those 2 in the captain spot. And so let's do that. So let's go to the captain's roster spot. And I'm just going to click off of Jared Goff and Matthew Stafford just to see what the roster construction is like with that. And let's do, I don't know. Let's spread it out. I want to know 25%, 25%. Again, I'm just trying to get a look as to like what the lineup construction is for you guys to see if you guys like any of those, just to see what spits out to us. And it might not even like those 2 in the captain spot or those 3. It does, but a little bit of St. Brown as well. So here we go. It is then getting Kobe Parkinson as a decent flyer value play. Not a terrible build as well. This does have a decently high floor, I would say. I might set a rule where I think I want at least one of Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp in my builds. And so one last thing here, guys, is I want at least one of Puka Nacua, not captain. I guess we could do captain. Puka Nacua captain, Kupp captain, and then both of them in the flex. I want at least one of those 2 in all my builds. Okay, so let's see what that does. And so there we go. Much better, just because I think we're locking in some upside when we do that, and we actually are spreading out a little bit. I don't mind the rosters that we're getting here now. It's kind of looking good there. But guys, that's going to be all for this video. If you guys want access to the 9-to-5 lineup builder, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Use the promo code KEEPCASHING to get 20% off your first month. Again, I'm doing that because we were able to reach 20K. The way I was able to do that is honestly because of your guys' support. Keep liking the video. I do appreciate that. Good luck on your showdown slates. 2 for 2 so far. Barely, but 2 for 2 thus far. Hopefully that continues here. Good luck on your showdown builds. Again, if you guys want access to that to the 9-to-5 lineup builder, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, let's keep cashing.